Okay, this is Matt Hughes versus Ricardo Almeida. Ricardo Almeida, amazing black belt in his own right. This is my favourite choke in all of the UFC. It's the Farmaconda. Jeremy Horn, when he came over here to do a seminar, he taught us how to do it. I'm going to talk you through the way that it was done here. It doesn't look like a choke that's possible, but it's actually born of the Schultz choke, which Mark Schultz used to use in the Olympics to make people go unconscious and then make them fall over. But anyway, we're going to get back to this. Matt Hughes and Mr. Almeida having a bit of a scrap on the hands. We see that Matt Hughes catches him with some kind of looping, jabby, hooky type thing, and Almeida falls over. Matt Hughes charges in, way, and we see that Almeida goes to get some kind of attachment as he's sitting up trying to recover. Matt Hughes is trying to get this elbow in between his neck and his shoulder to create a frame. Doesn't manage to create a frame, so he just sprawls out instead, driving his hip in. Nice little touch here with the underhook, drives that hip in at an angle, forcing Almeida to the ground and to not allow himself to get his hands together. It also means that his hand goes on the ground for a post. It's absolutely brilliant work from Matt Hughes. As usual, he's going to go to head and arm. He's going to go to front headlock. This is another nice bit of work here as he takes the front of the body. Almeida's turning him slowly with that underhook. We're going to get Matt Hughes to block the hip. Now, people ask me why he's blocking the hip here. From my point of view, I think it's because he expects Almeida to try and sit through and pull guard. Okay, and I think this is stopping Almeida being able to sit through and pull guard. I mean, if one of the ways that the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu guys get you into guard is you go to front headlock, they'll just sit down and slowly fall back on their bottoms and drag you back into guard. If Matt Hughes keeps his hand across his hip, it stops him being able to do that. That's what I think anyway. I might be wrong, but I don't think I am. So Matt Hughes is blocking him from re-pulling guard. Almeida decides that he's going to step up and try and rebuild his base and stand up, which is his first mistake. He's doing pretty good here, keeping his shoulder open at this point, but he probably has never seen the Farmaconda or heard the Farmaconda or even knew that a Farmaconda was a thing. So we're now going to get Matt Hughes go to front headlock, and he's going to change his grip. What he needs to do is we'll see him bring his hands together, and he'll change his grip now, okay? So he was just at this moment in a controlling phase. I mean, Almeida's giving him the Farmaconda here by lifting his hip and allowing Matt Hughes to slide down the body, trapping this shoulder in deep beneath the neck. The head's underneath the chest. So he's sliding down the body, and what he's going to do is he's going to change his grip to a C grip or an S grip, as they call it in America. So you can see now that Matt Hughes' palm on this hand is facing upwards and his palm is facing downwards on this side, which forms like a hinge. If you put your fingers together in a hook, you can form like a hinge. And what he's doing is he's forming a tight V between the forearms that's collecting the head on this side and collecting the arm on this side. Schultz used to use this, but what he would do is he would just go to a head and arm, bring this forearm up across the shoulder and drive his head underneath the armpit, which would give the same result as the Farmaconda with a little more effort. So we now see him change his grip. He forms a V shape with his arms, so his elbow's tight here against the side of the neck, and his elbow's tight here and against his arm. Now what he wants to do is force this arm across, get his ear down to the shoulder. So he's going to force the arm across and bring his ear down to the shoulder and step his hip away slightly. So now what he's doing is he's compressing that shoulder into the gap between Almeida's head and his shoulder. So his neck here is holding in. And now the tighter that he can get his head underneath this armpit, while he squeezes it in, the tighter he can make the choke. He hasn't tightened the choke yet. We can see that he hasn't pulled this elbow in tight. He needs to pull this elbow in tight, and he needs to add the pressure as he does so. So now he's going to start to squeeze, and I believe he's got the mightiest squeeze of most men on this planet. So he's slowly sinking his head down and driving his head lower onto the shoulder. Almeida's feeling this at the moment, so he starts to sink to the floor. He's not defending very much because he doesn't feel that this can be a choke. He doesn't feel threatened. Well, now we're seeing that this forearm. He's starting to slice this elbow across as well. And Matt's head is now well down below the shoulder, and the shoulder is being driven deep into the gap of his neck, in Almeida's neck. He's slowly going to bring his head even tighter as he makes an angle on this shoulder, forcing that shoulder in even tighter. And eventually Almeida's going to start feeling a little bit dizzy. Tries to react to pull his head out of there. Can't do it. Matt Hughes is going to let him reset. And now he drives him to the floor. And watch what he does with his head now. Squeeze. And Almeida's unconscious. Absolutely beautiful. I reckon he was a bit unconscious before that. Fantastic technique. It's actually on my YouTube channel if you want to find it, the Farmaconda, from my front headlock series. Yeah, you don't have to be this big and this strong to do it. It works. One of my favourite jokes. Give it a go, and good luck.